Hey everybody, my name is Chris Lewellen, and I am the Tippah County Development Foundation Director. I'm a lifelong resident of Tippah County, and I'm happy to call Tippah County my home. We at the Development Foundation know that we must ensure that Tippah County offers a wide variety of ways for our citizens to make a good living and have a great quality of life here. We know that we must move Tippah County forward into a future that causes our high school graduates to want to make Tippah County their home and to know that they can have a good life here. We believe that the only way for Tippah County to move forward is for us to move forward together. It will take all of us to ensure that our children and our children's children have a great place to call home in Tippah County. In this series of interviews, released weekly this fall of 2024, you'll hear from some incredible people living in Tippah County. Some of these folks never left home, some left for a while and came back, and some moved here as adults. We wanted to let you hear their reasons for choosing Tippah County as their home and their hopes for the future of Tippah County. The interviewer is Mr. Austin Hamilton, a lifetime citizen of Tippah County. Austin currently serves as the career coach for Ripley High School and served last year as the Walnut High School career coach. We thought he would be the perfect person to talk to our group about their hopes and dreams for their hometown. If you enjoyed this interview, please check back weekly to listen to each new interview and share them with a friend. Let's move forward together and make Tippah County the best that it can be.
I'm here today with Reverend Jody Hill, man, and I don't think I have to explain much on him. He's a very well-known guy across the board. But with just getting started, Reverend Hill, what's your current position? What are you doing right now? Because I know you've worked a lot of different jobs, a lot of different sectors. But what are you doing right now as we speak?
Yeah, I'm. Thank you. It's good to be with you, Austin. I serve in bivocational ministry. I pastor here at Ripley Presbyterian Church. I'm in my 11th year here now at RPC. And then also I work at Memphis. I'm president of Memphis Theological Seminary.
Okay, yeah. And we were just talking off air just a little bit about that. How is that going, by the way? Now, I say that because when I first really got to know you, what at Blue Mountain you were over?
Yeah, I was vice president of community relations.
Community relations.
So dealt significantly in fundraising and just kind of representing the school within the community and the churches.
Now, how many years have you been at MTS?
I started at MTS in 2020. So
wow.
I started and 2 months later, the pandemic kicked off. So.
Wow. Well, we could go on and on about that.
Man,
but with that being said, you obviously fit the category. I know we talked a little bit before we got on. So you would obviously fit the category. You grew up here. Now, am I correct in saying you grew up graduated from Faulkner?
Yeah,
correct?
That's right.
And then moved off. Obviously, if some of you probably already know, he played football at Ole Miss, correct?
Yep.
Am I correct on that? Because you're also an author. I've read your book, The Chucky Mullins Effect,
all
correct?
Kind of stuff going on.
Yeah, man. You're a jack of all trades, man. I'm gonna have to hit you up later. But anyway, but with that being said, you moved off and now you're back.
Right.
As I don't know who told me, but you just recently built in Faulkner, correct?
That's right.
Man, back to your hometown. So, what are some characteristics of Tippah County you would highlight? Maybe cost of living, or just some things that you would want someone to know. Maybe even some essential traits of Tippah County. If someone was asking you, what would you say about Tippah County?
Yeah, so I've lived in a couple of different urban settings.
Sure.
I lived in Memphis for a while back when our kids were a little younger, and then in St. Louis. So certainly that worked out good being a Cardinal fan.
Oh, wow. I didn't know you're a Cardinal fan. I like even more now. I'm sorry,
we got to take in a lot of games. But one thing that we really missed and then appreciated coming back home, it was the small town connectedness of Tippah County. I mean, having a local bank, a local physician, people that you know where you do business with. And that's such a great gift that I think Tippah County sets apart from someone who's living in an urban setting where you're just kind of one among many. And here you're like one of a family.
I say this often. I say, you are one conversation in Tippah County from having your family physician, your banker, your construction team. I mean, you are one conversation away from having everything you need. Optometrist, and two, what's also incredibly interesting about that piece that you just said, Mr. Kyle Smith gave me my first loan at 23.
Wow.
And he gave my father his first loan at 23.
Yeah.
So
he won't give me a loan. So
I don't know how much pool I got with him. Anyway, I know when he calls, either he's asking me a question about the new Community of Excellence or maybe a Bills nut. So I'm hoping either one anyway. But with that being said, once again, just kind of on that note, that hometown feel, that's a piece that I think oftentimes is overlooked, especially with young people, because they're always thinking, I want to move to California, or I want to move to Austin, or the booming places. Kind of speak to that. Maybe even, is your wife from here?
She's from Boonville, so North Mississippi, the
area.
region.
So even too, like, speak to that on the family side of moving away. And don't get me wrong, your kids went to Corinth, correct? Am I right on?
That's right.
So still in North Mississippi.
Yeah.
So kind of speak a little bit even to like, I guess you would say the peace of knowing, like, I know all these people. I know where my kids are going to school. My wife has family, friends, and all of those things. Maybe kind of what are the advantages of that? I know we said the physician and thing, but what are some other, like, just knowing when I lay my head on my pillow at night, I know these people.
Yeah, so we moved back from St. Louis in 2013.
Okay.
And we moved to Corinth at that time. We're close to family in that area. And then I eventually went to work at Blue Mountain Christian University now. And while I was pastoring here at RPC. And then when I assumed the presidency at Memphis in 2020, and a lot of people say, bless your heart, you started in the pandemic. And I say, hey, no, it's no matter how bad I mess it up, I can always blame it on the pandemic. So
COVID got thrown on the bus a lot.
That's right. But as Manya, my wife, and I were kind of determining where do we want to settle. Now I'm in the urban setting. She was working at Corinth, so that was part of our move too. And it was really her suggestion that we get back home, and basically we built in my parents' pasture.
That's awesome.
Right there in Faulkner. And I think we're going to see more and more of this, the commuter lifestyle, because it takes me about an hour and 10 minutes. So that's not driving like a preacher. Well, maybe it is driving like a preacher. But
like Randy Hamilton.
Maybe pushing it a little bit. But, it's so nice to be able to be in a quiet community, just where we can sit on the back deck and, watch the sunset and have a good
put a price
green
on
space. You really can, Austin. And I think for young people growing up now, choosing and considering a career, the opportunities are there. We mentioned the pandemic. I mean, we're in a world now where communication, everything's at the touch of the phone. I mean, we're doing this interview over an iPhone.
Oh, exactly. It will be streamed to whoever wants to see it.
Yeah. So, I mean, so much of my work, even at the seminary, can be remote. So I encourage people to think, even if you want to have a working in an urban environment, we're in a commuter world. So,
it's so crazy. One of the talks I do with our students at the school, I tell them, I think Ripley is the most strategic place in Northeast Mississippi. I said, man, I can wake up tomorrow and have breakfast in Memphis. I can wake up and have breakfast in Birmingham. I can wake up and have lunch in Atlanta. I can wake up and have lunch on the beach in Destin. Or I could wake up and drive to Memphis and be in California all the way out west by 3, 4 o'clock.
That's right.
But what you can't get, I can enjoy all the things you have.
Yeah.
I can even work there in a sense.
Sure, that's right.
But what you can't guarantee is that peace of mind, that small town feel, that cost of living, being on your parents or grandparents' farm. I mean, all those things that we so value. We are in a world now where it doesn't have to be an either or; it can be a both and.
That's right.
So, with that being said, what are some other just traits? You've written a book, so you're a man. You got some adjectives in you, if I could say. So, man, if somebody was like, say you were in St. Louis, for instance, and somebody was like, hey, where did you grow up? What was it like? What are some adjectives you would describe about Tippah County?
Yeah, I think it's the friendliness, hospitality.
Sure.
A unique thing about Tippah County too, I mean, to be a small town environment, small setting, I mean, it's pretty cosmopolitan for a small town with the arts that we have here and
Sure.
everything. The theater that provides a lot of opportunity
Oh, absolutely.
to people to kind of come out of themselves, and
Absolutely.
the commitment to downtown, the revitalization there, and I think that there is a spirit of we're in it together, and
Yeah.
I encourage us all to buy locally, live locally,
Sure,
and
sure, sure,
help
sure, sure.
pour life and economics into those who've poured life into us. Continue to do so.
That's a great piece, and one of the things that's often come up in these conversations. Now you're the third conversation is for younger people they often say, well, there's nothing to do here,
Yeah.
and I always say, well, first of all, there's more to do here than you realize.
Yeah.
And second of all, you don't realize how far it's come in 25 years. See,
Yeah.
now 30, I remember when there was, like you said, I would have never dreamed at 10 years old. And I'm not trying to tout Miss Elizabeth up, but I know, because I know there's a lot of pieces to that
Sure.
main street, including Miss Marcelos who's doing this. I
Yeah,
think
for
about Miss
sure.
Grady, and I think about others who poured their heart into that downtown, that Ripley
Yeah.
Main Street. I couldn't have dreamed when I was in high school it looking like it does now. Some of the things that are offered now, and even like I've seen some of the things in the future that are planned, some of the office space in that Ripley Main Street. It really encourages me. So when young people say that, I always say, just give us some time. It's coming.
right.
We're not going to move like Nashville. We're not going to move like Austin. It's never going to be like that.
Sure.
But we are seeing more and more innovation and more partnerships across the board, where people are saying, I can hear Chris Lewellen right now say, we don't have time for people to be on an island anymore.
Yeah.
We need to come together with our resources and see this change for the betterment of the next generation, the next generation, next generation. Well, now in wrapping up with the football interview. Now, if you want to continue to watch this conversation, we'll go a little bit longer.
We can talk all day. We're
Oh
both preachers.
oh
so,
my goodness. Anyway, we could. And I don't feel obligated to stroke anybody's ego. I enjoyed your book. I read it when it first came out, when I was in high school, and always from afar I've always been encouraged by how the way you carried yourself and things of that nature. But with that being said, I know that there is a whole host of people right now that that grew up here, that loved it here, but for whatever reason, especially 20, 30 years ago, like we're saying, that remote work wasn't a thing.
Sure.
Maybe even a commuter thing really wasn't a thing. But now with the fiber optics that we have here, we have incredible Wi-Fi, and with 15 coming through and connecting, and more interstate, more ability. What would you say to that? I don't know, 35, 40-year-old. I know we've kind of hit on this, but I think this is such a big piece for our economic development and understanding the opportunities here. What would you encourage? What would be a word of encouragement to them to say, hey, like I've been to St. Louis. It was great. We love the Cardinals, and I've been to Memphis. It's great. Love the Grizzlies, but I wouldn't want to live anywhere else now.
Sure. And I think my wife, Manya, says it better than I do. I mean,
our wives often do, but anyway.
Yes. I mean, she says, I love it. I'm back home. I'm in the country. And as you said, I mean, when you're in an urban setting, you're going to have a 30-minute, 45-minute drive just to go out to eat or something like that.
Oh, my goodness.
So we are on the outskirts, and you can go in. So the transportation's not really so much of a deal.
Yeah, exactly.
And to give you an example of, and to encourage our students and those who are considering careers, just a few years ago, I was in the equipment industry. Selling and trading construction equipment, heavy equipment. And I was sitting in an office in Faulkner, Mississippi, and across from me was a guy from Scotland, and he was on the phone with someone from Japan, and we were putting together a deal to send equipment to Russia.
Wow.
So, I mean, here you are in the information age, and you can make things happen.
Sure.
You can still serve your community.
Sure,
and take pride in what we have here. We have something special.
We really do. We really do. Well, so with that being said, last question on the football interview at halftime. with that being said, you've seen I'm assuming Tippah County doesn't look anything like it did when you were in school, like most people. But with that being said, we want to capture and keep and hand down a lot of traits about Ripley: hardworking, dedicated, family-oriented, all of those things that we would want to continue going. But with that being said, and a lot of these things have come up. But we don't want to fossilize. We don't want to just say we're going to preserve this Ripley as it is now. We don't want to see it change. No new people, no new things, nothing.
Sure.
We just want so with that being said, what are maybe one or two things you would love to see in the next 15, 20 years in Tippah County that maybe it's just kind of been in the back of your mind?
Sure. I've had conversation with my friend Robert Cagle before.
Oh, yeah, Mr. Cagle,
with the Ashley Furniture.
I actually worked this summer at Ashley.
Yeah,
great guy, man. Love Mr. Robert Cagle.
And they have industry all over the world.
Oh, sure.
And this is kind of the gold star. They say the people of Tippah County, their values, their hard work ethics.
Man, yeah.
So if people will just come here and give a chance, continue as these students grow up to be entrepreneurs. There's no better place to start your business, your new venture, than right here at home with kind of the salt of the earth type folk.
I fully agree with that. So if I'm hearing you correctly, what you would love to see is more jobs, more better pay. Who doesn't want that?
Yeah.
So, and that's something that I personally feel like if like I think you said it best, because we always feel like we are the run of the litter, and it's good to be the run of the litter a lot of times. But if people would just give us a chance, and they would just come and see, experience the community, industries, come talk to leaders in the community, talk to the workforce, see what's here and available for them, I think that they would be more than glad that they moved it to Ripley. So, man, thank you so much. So with that being said, hey, thank y'all so much for engaging with us. And, man, we're looking forward for the next 7 down the road. Hey, and always, all of Tippah County, go Tippah County,
That's right.
but go Tigers.
So good luck in the second half.
So just 2 more questions on that end. I know that wrapped up our halftime show, but one thing that I've noticed in conversations, and I think you said you were 38, correct? You were 38 years old?
Me?
35, 38? Yeah.
53, so kind of inverted.
Yeah, I always tell people when they meet me for the first time, and I'm with my dad, I always say, hey, this is my granddad. So anyway, but with that being said, you've said in the interview that you've been a pastor, which is a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've done a little bit of everything in a church building.
Sure.
You have been public relations, Blue Mountain College. Now you're the president of MTS, which is a staff. How many years has it been a seminary now?
It started back in the 1800s.
I'm about to say,
in a rural setting, but in Memphis since 1965.
Yeah, I knew it was an older seminary. You sold Caterpillar parts, correct?
Yeah, equipment, heavy equipment, equipment.
Yeah. I mean, you've done a little bit of everything, and this is something that I talk to students all the time. And a guy actually, one of the guys that poured into me one of the most in a year outside of my father, he was a pastor that I was under. And I'll never forget, man, he pulled me aside and he said, look, besides telling me that the next 6 months, the only thing you need to worry about is where the bathroom is and how to be quiet.
Yeah.
And so he said, we brought you here to learn and invest in you. So calm down. So, but with that being said, he also said, man, you're 23 years old. You feel like you need to have everything figured out by the time you're 23 and a half. He's like, man, what if you try different things and work hard till you're 39 and then finally you say, hey, I could do this for another 30 years and then retire at 69 or 70 or whatever. So what would you say to the person in the high school or middle school or even early to mid 20s? What would you say about working different positions and seeing the ebb and flow of how you grew in each and everything, and that you don't have to know exactly what you want to do at such a young age? Yeah,
I think that's important. Your work in the school district, working with people trying to determine what's my future going to look like, what a careers. I think the generation, for better or worse, of people working somewhere for 30 years, you're not going to see that as much. Yeah,
man, that because that just is a common thing back in the day. You talk to people like, I worked at Caterpillar for 40 years, or I worked at Oil Drive for 40 years, and I've said that before. Like, that's kind of a thing of the past now, in a sense.
So it takes a while, and that's okay for you to figure out. And what I think and certainly I apply it from my faith background too.
Sure, absolutely.
It seems like every step along the journey or different experience I had in my career fed into what I'm doing now. So, being in sales in Caterpillar when I was in the St. Louis area.
This has just kind of hit me. What are two things, though? I know you've done different. What are two or three things that, regardless of what you were doing, needed to be shown in the workplace that you were in? Or maybe two or three traits that you carried. It didn't matter if you were selling heavy machinery, you were a pastor, or you were president of a seminary. I needed these traits, this kind of durable skills, if you would say, to succeed regardless of where I'm at.
Oh, that's a great question. And certainly we think of our academic needs, going through, but so important too is the emotional intelligence, meaning our people skills.
Wow.
How do you talk to people? How do you, I have another book coming out on leadership, and
do you?
I have 10 leadership principles when I was working on my doctorate of ministry at New Orleans Baptist Seminary. But those traits of leadership, the L is listening, communication, E, eyes on the horizon, be a visionary, A, all hands on deck.
Okay.
Don't fear change, easy wins, be thankful, be grateful. Remember to get ready, aim, and then fire. Have a plan for what you're going to do. Yeah. And the last four, Austin, the words leadership or ship. And I tell people these are kind of like a rudder on a boat, or it's unseen and it's small, or even the propeller small to the larger vessel. But without it, you're not moving on to your desired future. So these last four principles that I try to teach to young people and people of all ages that spell ship: servanthood, humility, integrity, and prayer. If you can embody those along with, trying to grow academically, you're going to have that skill set to thrive and succeed no matter what your chosen career is.
Well, you've got me sold on it. I'm going to pre-order. I'm going to pre-order it when it comes out on Amazon. So I'm excited. I may get an autograph because I know the author a little bit. But this is something that always just I just can't get over it. Maybe because, and this is not false humility. I just a lot of times I don't feel very competent. Maybe for whatever reason. But every time I talk to people like you who've been in different industries and succeeded in different spheres, and even Mr. Robert Cagle and other people, the things that they are looking for are not things that anyone can't do.
That's right.
As I told my son the other day, there's a reason Daddy's not an engineer. Okay, there's and that's a skill to be learned, and you have to, and it takes a particular mind to do that. Yeah. But anyone can have humility.
That's right.
Anyone can listen. I mean, like you said, it so blows my mind when I talk to industry leaders and they say, oftentimes the reason people are not hired or promoted, which that's what we're trying to do. For young people particularly, we want to sharpen and develop people that are employable and promotable.
That's it.
And the reason why they're not employed or promoted rarely has to do with competencies, but has to do with attitude.
Yeah.
And it just baffles me. So, I'm so excited to read that book. But last question on ending this kind of this interview up is, what you like I said, you've talked to seminary students. You've been at Blue Mountain College. You've talked to college students. You're a pastor. You've got young people in your church. You've had your own kids.
Yeah.
So, two questions on that. What are some things that you would? I'll ask you the first one first, and then we'll go. But what are some things that you would encourage young people to think about when pursuing a career path?
Yeah, we talked about the interpersonal skills, emotional intelligence, but also I would encourage them to have confidence. Here's an example: my son Noah, who has a hearing impairment. He's kind of a rock star because he's really excelled, overcame that, played college baseball at Blue Mountain.
Sure.
And next May, he'll be finishing up dental school.
I thought he was going into dental school. Wow.
And as he's considering, Austin, a career path, certainly so many people going in the medical field are leaning toward those urban settings.
Sure.
But if you really want to build a business, my dear friend and departed church member Norris Howell,
man.
he used to say, look, if you really want to build a business, find you a local community you can establish your practice in. You'll be able to pour into them, they'll pour into you. So the opportunities are there. And I know many of our young people, they're driven towards success. They want to bank some money, and we get that. But the opportunities are certainly there to do that within our community.
And I don't want to get off topic. So I have one more sub question to that. But I would be remiss to say, I know because we've talked about even like Mr. Bobby Martin, who we loved, and man,
my dear friend,
and he felt a sense of weight, and he felt a sense of responsibility to pour into all of Tippah County. Like it wasn't just his family. He just felt this inward responsibility to do that. And this is something people don't know, that Mr. Howe would randomly send me messages on Facebook just trying to encourage me. Hey, Austin, I saw what you wrote, or I saw what you put. I really was encouraged by that. Man, praying for you. If you ever need anything, you know where I live. I know that he even, when the wellness center went down, this was when I was a kid. We had the swim team, and man, they called him, and we swam at his indoor pool. The swim team did, and it always just baffled me because, other than just seeing him when I saw him, we really didn't have a lot of mutual circles, even though we were Tippah Countyans. He felt a sense of responsibility to encourage a younger Tippah County. And I think that's very true of a lot of people from Tippah County. So I didn't mean to get off. No, as soon as you said his name, I just thought, in the last year and a half, he's probably sent me 5 or 6 messages just detailing something I wrote or something he heard I did. Or and I was just like blown away by it. Because this is a dentist. He's a well-accomplished man. He's got his own family. And it just meant the world to me. So man, thank God for his family. But with that being said, last question is, you've got kids. You've already hit a point that I wanted to ask you about encouraging your son to bring his dental practice here. What would you, how would you, now that you're encouraging your son to think about, hey, I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but you can make a good living here. What would you say to young people that are finishing that professional degree or finishing a degree in general? What would you say to them, that young to mid 20s, maybe even to late 20s, encouraging them to move back?
I think the opportunities are there, as we've mentioned. If you want to establish some type of business here within the county, we certainly welcome that, applaud that. And through your efforts and those of our local leaders, you're going to have the support to jump in there with you in the trenches. But if you are still attracted to spending some time in that urban setting, I think you can have the best of both worlds. As you mentioned, we are centrally located. So you're an hour drive to Memphis, Tupelo, couple of hours, to Huntsville, Birmingham, Atlanta. So you can really achieve that by living here, having your roots where people believe in you and in a community you believe in, and the sky's the limit.
Man, well, with that being said, I know we have probably exceeded our time. I know we could talk a lot more afterwards, but I just want to say from my end, thank you, Mr. Jody Hill. We appreciate you as a Tippah Countyan. It is an honor and a privilege to be in a somewhat of a category with you as a Tippah Countyan. So man, continue to fight the good fight, and don't forget to order that book. It'll be a good one. I know it will be. So hey, have a good day. Thank y'all so much. And like I said, go Tippah County, all sports, but really go Tigers and go Miss Hood. So.
All right.
Hey there. Did you know that every week radio reaches 90% of all people with disposable income? That's more than any other media. The fact is, radio is the #1 most effective and cost-effective ways to reach current and potential customers. If you have a business, service, or event you want to let folks know about, put it on the radio. If you want to tell our dedicated Shark listeners about your business or event, click advertise at shark102.3.com and put it on the radio.